When we're together, darling, every night is Halloween.
Well, it's Halloween, folks, and you're going to get my top 5 Halloween films. Yes. Halloween. Halloween night. Let's get to it. Okay. The rules in this is I didn't want to do any franchise films. There is going to be one that you can say, oh, Richard, it's a franchise film, but to me it's not. This one film is not a franchise film to me. Yeah, they made sequels years later, but I don't hold them as a franchise. Never will. Never will. So, let's go ahead and get to the first one.
What was that?
On September 17th,
I saw a face.
bad things happen
The hell's going on?
for a reason.
Who are you?
Don't let it go dark in there.
Devil. Rated PG-13 starts September 17th.
Devil is a 2010 film produced from a story by M. Night Shyamalan, or however you pronounce your last name. Devil has the interesting premise. There's an old folk tale where a man walks to an elevator, and the creepy guy, the elevator's filling up, and the creepy guy goes, "There's room for one more." And the guy's like, "I'll wait." Which is wise, because the elevator plunges to the ground and kills everybody on there. So, well, that was the creepy folk tale that's been, the room for one more, which is very creepy. But in Devil, a narrator starts off that says, and he tells a tale that the devil walks the earth and he's looking for unrepentant souls to take to hell. So in Devil, a group of passengers on this elevator gets stuck, but there's something wrong, because one of them is in fact the devil, and he's there to take their souls. And it's a very, very creepy, eerie film. It's one of my favorite films that M. Night has a hand in. He didn't direct the film, but it's one of my favorite Halloween films for how it was. Now, this was supposed to set up a series. It was supposed to set into a loose urban legends type universe, but it didn't happen. I don't think Devil did that well at the box office to keep it going, but overall, it is one of my favorite Halloween films. I've seen the film countless times, and as a one-off film, it's perfect. It's a perfect Halloween film at night, and it makes you scared to get on an elevator. I mean, even now, I'll walk up to an elevator and I'm like, I see people getting on it, and I start to, that back in my mind starts thinking, this don't seem so safe. It really doesn't.
They're chainsaw wielding, wood chipping, grave digging. Good guys?
Officer, do we look like a couple of psycho killers to you?
Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Monday on Horror.
Yes, number 4 is a black comedy horror film, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which is one of my favorite films. Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine star in this funny film about how people view certain things in horror. Now, in horror, usually backwoods hillbillies are the evil villains in a horror, and it's a trope that you see a lot. I think the Wrong Turn films do it a lot. I haven't really watched any of the Wrong Turn films. I know I'm behind the ball on that one, but normally evil hillbillies are a thing in horror films. They've been that way for like 40 plus years. I think Mother's Day is one with another evil hillbilly family. But these two well-meaning guys, Tucker and Dale, are not evil hillbillies. They're actually nice guys. They're just going to their, to go spend time at this nice cabin that one of them bought. It's their dream home for a vacation. So they just want to go there and fish and hunt and have a good time, And they meet a bunch of college kids who pretty much are kind of insane. They think the hillbillies are there to hunt him down, and it's the funniest thing because like they're like, he goes, damn Tucker, he done dived into the wood chipper. It's funny to see this. It's a comedy horror. It's a black comedy horror film, and it's probably one of my favorites to watch countless times. And the sad thing is, the film really, broke even at the box office, but it became a cult hit. It's become so viewed on, on various media. It's so really good that Levine and Trita have tried to work a new script up to have Tucker and Dale come back, but I'm kind of happy that we're not going to see that, because as a one-off film, it's perfect. It ends perfect. It shows that the appearance of others, you shouldn't judge people's appearances by how they look, and I think that's really good. Plus, like I said, it's a funny comedy horror film. It's probably one of my favorites.
If it had a mind, you could reason with it. If it had a face, you could look it in the eye. If it had a body, you could shoot it. Now, man is no longer the supreme being. The Blob. Terror has no shape. Rated R. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
The Blob 1988 is a remake of the 1950s Blob. Now, the remake, as I have told friends of mine like Frank at work, is my favorite. The Blob to me is the most perfect film. It has Shawnee Smith, and it really is a really good remake of a film. And the swerve at the start of that film is just so perfect. You're watching this film, and you're like, man, that's just a hell of a swerve to throw. They do a 180 swerve, and you're like, because you're following one character, and you're thinking, okay, he's going to be the hero in this. But then you throw like a left curve, and they're like, okay, now we know why they did this. And it's just good. The Blob has a lot of great murder scenes and death scenes with this evil entity. And originally they was wanting to do it. They had planned, a series. They was wanting to do another film of it, because it leaves off thinking you're going to see another film of the Blob. You think you're going to get a sequel. Well, the box office wasn't good. Even though it later became a cult hit, they never could do it. It's been 30 plus years, and Rob Zombie was supposed to do a film or a remake or whatever it was to it, but he never got to do it. And but as a 1988 film, as a one-off film in this, the Blob is just perfect to me. The Blob is just the most perfect film of that era.
In California, you'll find fun, romance, and vampires.
She's one of them! You better give yourself a garlic t-shirt, buddy.
You been eating pizza?
No, why?
Oh, you smell like garlic.
The Lost Boys. Rated R. Starts Friday, July 31st.
Now, I know what I said about franchise films. I didn't want to do Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, The Maniac Cops, The Thing. I didn't want to put any of the franchise films in this. I was trying to do films that had, that was away from that. Because, there's a lot of great Friday the 13th. There's a lot of great Nightmare on Elm Street films. There's a lot of great George Romero Day of the Dead films. I didn't want to put the Dead films. So I was wanting to stay away from that. But with this, I made an exception, because to me, it personally ends with this one film. And, it personally ends with the Lost Boys, the first one. There's no, to me, 30 plus years later, they did sequels to it. And they originally planned to do sequels to the Lost Boys. But it's not, because they're all grown up, and it loses the magic to me. The magic is the Frog Brothers as young kids, as I told Eddie repeatedly. The Frog Brothers are, played by Corey Haim. Oh God, I can't think of the one actor, and Corey Feldman. And then you got Corey Haim, who is Sam, who just shows up, moves into the town with his brother. To me, the Frog Brothers joined by him is the magic. It's that magic right there as kids, with them talking about comic books in the comic book store. They're facing off against vampires led by Kiefer Sutherland. And The Lost Boys is my favorite vampire film of all time. The favorite vampire film of all time is The Lost Boys. And I don't care what anybody says, that you know, yeah, you had Dracula, yeah, you have, the Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is really good, but The Lost Boys is just cool. It's got motorcycle vampires. It's got, it's got the guy with the saxophone for no damn reason. This guy's just oiled up playing the saxophone, getting down. It's just fun. It's just a fun film. And after it was done, they was wanting to do a sequel, and there was going to be girls that was going to be in it, and they never could do. They never could get around to doing it. And they thought about doing a sequel, and they never could get the sequel off the ground. And he thought about doing years later, CW was going to do a version, but they was basically remaking Buffy the Vampire Slayer like a bunch of idiots. Instead of doing the Frog Brothers like they should have, they was going to make it like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it really made no sense. But the Frog Brothers and The Lost Boys in 1987 is the perfect vampire film. It ends there. There's no other films. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care if y'all say, oh, there's The Tribe and there's this one. I was like, nope. There's only one Lost Boys film, and it was that one.
This ship has been beyond the boundaries of our universe. Who knows what it's brought back with it?
Infinite space, infinite fear, infinite terror.
God help us.
Event Horizon, rated R, starts August 15th.
The last film is the most scary one. Yes, I saved the best for last. Event for Horizon. It is probably one of the best sci-fi horror films by W.S. Anderson. And Sam Neill is that creepy guy that gets, they're not going to let you go, with his eyes so, oh man, it was just creepy as hell. The whole film is just perfect, and it just builds. Lawrence Fishburne, just builds to this. It just builds and builds, and it's a great sci-fi horror film. And I've seen a lot of people try to copy what Event Horizon is. I've seen people in fiction like do a haunted ship and try to copy that what Event Horizon was, and I'm like, you just can't do it. Event Horizon is just the one and only to me. It's the best sci-fi horror film in space to me. I mean, it's one that I could watch 1,000,000 times and I'd go like, man. And here are some stories that come out that Anderson had made the film so insane. He pushed it so far that when they did testing, it made the testing audience sick. It made the testing audience, and the studio told him he had to make cuts because they was not going to, put this film out into the wild like it was. And it sucks, because that was a perfect horror film, and it became a cult hit. It became one of those films that everybody's like, whatever happened to the unedited version? Whatever happened to the longer version that, I think it was like 2 to 2.5 hours, and he's like, because he cut a lot out of it, and he's like, to make it pass as rated R to get it into theaters and to please the studio, and he's like, he don't know whatever happened to the other cut. I think he said there's somebody in Europe has a version of it possibly, but you just wish the studio and him would get together and find this this cut of the film. But it is what it is. These are my top 5 favorite horror films that isn't part of a franchise, that you could watch just this one film and just walk away and say, man, that's good. And I know they're all over the map. You got some from the 1990s, the 2010s, you got from the 80s. But this is what makes it fun. This is what makes a good list, is not just staying in one era. You go all around. And like I said, if you have to watch any of these, watch them. Tonight is the perfect night. It is Halloween, after all.